What's up, y'all? Dennis here from Do It All Garage. This is kind of part two of the carburetor teardown for the 07 Prairie 360 4x4 Kawasaki. I'm putting a new float valve and a new bowl gasket in the carburetor. I've already taken the bowl off in part one, so you can see this one here. Had a few technical difficulties, so I had to start over. But anyway, hopefully this helps some of y'all out. Thanks a lot. Let me get my camera positioned here. So there's the bowl right there and the float and everything. This little pin right here slides in and out like you can see. Okay, sometimes they can be a real pain to get out, and what helps is if you use a you can use a pick if you have one small enough, or you can use a thumbtack or a very small nail or something like that, and it'll help knock them out. In this case, I was able to use this little pick that I had laying around in the toolbox. You just push it out one side and it comes out. You can grab it with a pair of needle nose pliers usually, pull it right out. I'm going to set that in our parts tray. Wanted to stick on the other side. Alright, so now the float's going to come out. You just grab it, just pull it right out, and the float needle will be hanging on there just like that. So you want to take the old one off. Sometimes when you just buy one of these float needles, that little clip that's on top of there, the new float needle won't come with that sometimes, so you might want to hang on to that and try not to damage it or bend it up. The one in our Quad Boss carburetor kit did come with one, so I don't really need to save it or anything. But what you want to look for, guys, these things are spring loaded. Okay, hopefully you can see this. That little tip in there is spring loaded. There's actually a spring inside of the body of this thing, and that's what helps push it up against the bowl, or where the fuel comes into the carburetor. And it has that little rubber tip on it, and that's what stops fuel from pouring into the carburetor and flooding it out, and you know, or spilling out of the bottom of the carburetor. So I'm going to put that back on there, and this thing also has a tab on it. Okay, that metal tab that it hangs on, that is actually adjustable. So I'm going to take this thing and bend it just a little bit. That way it'll help force it to stop that fuel flowing in there. Alright, and I'm going to just take this thing and slide it right back on there. Okay, hopefully you guys can kind of see that. It's just hanging out there. Alright, and I'm going to blow this out. Set this back in here. Okay, I'm going to grab my pen. Some of these only go in one way. Some of them will have a little knurled end on one side. And like I said, they'll only go in one way, some of them, so you have to be kind of careful of that. This one slides in and out pretty easily. Again, sometimes if the carb's been sitting a really long time, it'll be stuck in there and be really hard to get out. So next thing we're going to do is take this bowl gasket out, which runs the perimeter of the lip of the bowl here. I'm just going to take a little pick and get this thing out. It's probably the original one. so it's probably stuck in there pretty good. But they get really hard and brittle like that. That thing just tore apart when I tried to take it out. They're made out of rubber, but after they've been sitting there for a long time, they'll feel more like plastic. They just get real hard and brittle. And you want to kind of clean that out just a little bit if you have any crap in there. Okay. I'm going to take our new bowl gasket. This one is formed. It's got that little lip on it right there, that little indentation, and you have to put it in the correct way. You just kind of want to mash it in there with your thumb a little bit. Try not to stretch it or damage it, because if you stretch this thing, it'll never go back in right. Okay, now it's properly seated in there. No gas is going to be leaking out of that. Let me grab my grease. I'm just going to show you a little tip. I've had this grease for a long time. It's Maxima waterproof grease. You can pretty much use just about any grease, because it's not going inside the carburetor or anything. It's on the outside, but it's just a little safety precaution that I like to use. Okay, the first thing I want to do is make sure that this thing, when it rises up, that it'll let some fuel come out of it. I'm sorry, just concentrating. You want to make sure it'll shut the fuel off, but you also want to make sure that it will let fuel drain into the bowl, because if not, you will be taking this thing back apart. So yeah, that looks good right there. So anyway, the gasket's already trying to fall out. The way I like to do it is hold the gas or the bowl right side up, and push it down on there. That way you don't have to worry about the bowl gasket falling off. And this thing only goes on there one way, so you don't have to worry about, you know, not getting it on the right way or whatever. But you want to look all the way around it and make sure that thing is sealed up, and make sure your gasket didn't come off when you put it in there. But anyway, I'm just going to take the tip of that screw, just dip it in a little bit of grease, just the tip. You stick it in there. Take your screwdriver, start putting it in, just snug it down. You don't have to torque them yet. Okay, putting a little bit of grease in there for the next guy, because we like to do that here at Do It All Garage. We're nice over here. A little bit of grease. Nope, wrong tool. Screw it in. A little bit of grease. Screw that one in. Now I'm going to snug them all down. You don't have to over tighten these things, just snug them down. Okay, should be all good. And that's how you do it. Alright, you want to make sure the lip of that is seated up nice and tight. Okay, that way no gas spills out. Again, I've already cleaned this thing, so I'm not going to be cleaning it right now. So I've already cleaned it, so I'm not going to tear the entire thing down. But in this cap right here, just so you guys know, there's a diaphragm, and it's actually called a vacuum valve. And when you open the throttle, it makes this. Let me see if you can see that. It makes that thing raise up and down. Okay, I'll show you here. And that's what has the needle jet in it. And it slides up and down in the main jet. All right. So anyway, that's on this Kawasaki Prairie. That's over here behind me. As you can see, I've got the carburetor off. Just worked on it in front of you. But I'm going to be putting it back on. Hopefully getting this thing back together and ready to sell. That's one of my hobbies, is flipping bikes. And I enjoy working on them too when I have the time and energy to do it. So anyway, I hope you guys like my video. Hope it helps some of you out. And if you like my channel, please like and subscribe. Thanks a lot.